Welcome back to Let's Talk Grayson Martin. I'm your host, Harrison Paul. I want to touch on a few things today. One of them being Candace Owens. Another of them being a very, very disturbing tape that I saw in London of a young man who almost really, really was on the brink of losing his life. And I'm just a little bit tired of the culture that's going on. So I'm gonna actually conjoin two things here, which I believe kind of the same thing. So I'll start off with the Candace Owens and the Sonya Massey. Of course, we know what happened to her was a racist incident. There's no doubt about it. No doubt about it that the lack of care for her life came from her just being a black woman with a mental disability. And that's where this lack of care, for her life. And it's one of those obvious moments. I don't even think white or black people are divided on it. It's just plain and simple. You can see he treated her like below human. There's these incidents that you can always tell where someone treats someone less than human, and you can just tell, nah, this is not a mistake. This is someone who really had a lower perspective on the species and or this human, a sodomist species, and you think to yourself, where does that come from? And it doesn't take a child to understand where that's rooted, especially within America. And of course, Candace Owens doing what she does best. She decided to come to that man's rescue and just, of course, like I said, she thinks she's smart. Of course, the situation at hand wasn't anything that you could really defend, outright defend. But I don't think anybody was really questioning that. But it's always this ability to give a black person the benefit of the doubt, or rather a white person the benefit of the doubt, is what's discussing. So she's here saying it's not a white or black thing. It's just a mistake. Cops make mistakes. And I think someone said it on Twitter, and I thought it was just brilliant. She never has this amount of benefit of the doubt for when a black person makes a mistake, unless it's, of course, her hero, Kanye West. But if it was, black people who have flaws, they can't have flaws. White people can have flaws. Black people are just lower than humans. They're idiotic. And you just see her ability to have benefit of the doubt for one person and the other person not so much. And that's very nuanced, right? So you can't just bring me, moments where Candace is, I know that she likes to berate Ice Spices and although Ice Spices mix, but Taylor Swift and Madonna and all these people. Can you guess I watched a little bit of Candace Owens? But I feel like Candace knows where to draw the line with certain white people. I bring an example of that is she had an issue with Trump a couple of years ago when he booted her from his campaign, really. And I watched her tread very lightly about how she spoke about him, how she spoke about. So Trump had the ability to, even now, I don't think they have a really healthy relationship at the moment, but she still is back on the Trump wagon. But I remember for some time there, she was speaking about him in a way where I could see that they were no longer friends. And if I can remember correctly, she actually was upset with the ways that he treated her, but she still tread lightly. So I'm talking about, white supremacy and where she knows, I don't think I'll be able to push the line here and see the light of day tomorrow. Let me keep that relationship. And then of course with black people, so it's nuanced, not just only white or black. It's that with power, a power sense to it, So more so today, guys, I want to address the people who are Candace Owens fans. And I'm going to use that by addressing the situation that happened today. Now, of course, I want to pay my respects quickly before we just move on from Sonya Massey and say it's a terrible situation that happened. I don't care what anybody thinks about Joe Biden. I really appreciated that he came outright and say that situation. I don't think America is being emotional. I don't think the murder was planned. So, when she kind of says, Candace Owens, that, oh, guys, they're just waiting for you to be emotional because they know that would only count if America planned the murder, and then waited, okay, let's plan the murder because they're going to be emotional. The facts are the facts in that moment, right? A black woman with mental illness was shot in her house for no absolute reason. And it's about who can react the best in that way. And from what we've seen so far, there's been no Republican who's shown any sort of grace for Sonya or Sonya's situation in terms of being a black woman and the unsafety, unrest. Because you see there are other people like the Republicans who have to really ponder to, I don't even think it's ponder. They've got a loyal fan base that doesn't tolerate that kind of empathy towards the struggle of black people in that country. And it's just not today's struggle. It's a historical struggle. And I want to make that clear as well before we move on. For anybody who's wondering about Sonya or any situation like that, you've got to understand you're dealing with, first, a relationship that has baggage. When I say relationship, I mean between white America and black America. No, Candace, you cannot wake up tomorrow and think that, okay, let's start from today. Let's start from Sonya Massey. It doesn't work like that. A lot of our grandmothers can still tell us stories from when the Klan were after them. You have told stories about when the Klan was after you. So there is so much, water under that bridge that, it's so idiotic. Even today I saw, 2 days ago, it was Emmett Till's, it would have been his birthday, or it is the anniversary of his birthday, and he would have been 84, I think it said, 83, 84. Sorry if I didn't get that correct, but it's just a post I scrolled past, and it's like, wait, hold on. We're always made feel like this is like King Louis II. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're made feel like racism and all this kind of stuff, history is like, oh, that's like, are you still talking about, that's like Henry VIII, or, that's like, you weren't even, wasn't even weren't even any TVs in those times. You know what I mean? Like, you're made feel like that, and something like that comes by and says, oh yeah, this is why we've still got a lot of gunk, in our systems, in this world, because it wasn't even a lifetime ago. He would have been still alive, and it is so disingenuous to try and make it seem like we're discussing something from way back, before before TVs were even invented, back in Shakespeare times, this is still very much a possibility that Emmett Till's world parts of his world can still very much be alive in today. I don't know why that's so hard to believe. So, I want to talk about, of course, I'm proud of Joe Biden, how in the Democrats, how they can really, at least show some sort of empathy. But I want to address now the African Americans, the black people who feel like they're tired of seeing the flaws within their race, and they want to have a spirit of excellence, and they don't like constantly seeing murders coming from black culture, killings, hip hop that worships killing, music that worships all this kind of stuff. And I know that in this moment you're looking for a hero. And I understand that a lot of times in the black community, because I don't feel even some of our greats have not really gone to do I want to maybe big up myself, maybe not have understood it the way I've understood it as a psychological, and I don't want to give too much into it, but it's psychological, and I just want to give a quick sentence and say, isn't it a coincidence that the people who came from slavery and colonization and all these people are just so happen to be the people who are, behaving in a way that a lot of us feel are out of the ordinary, worshiping murder, worshiping, culture of nudity and all this kind of stuff, when it comes to hip hop culture, all sorts of things. For me personally, when I look at that, it's a clear direction of like, all right, show me the person who came from a traumatic history, You know what I mean? Like if I'm a counselor and I come in a room and it's a bunch of children acting weird, or a room of people acting weird, or let's say it's animals acting weird. It's a room of animals and there's like, I don't know, rats. This is not any insult to black people. And there's one rat that's knocking his head off the wall, and then the scientist tells me, okay, pick out the one that's actually had a history of trauma. I think I would say, okay, I think it's that one there, And that for me, in many ways, it vindicates me, when I listen to hip hop, as I am a rap fan, and I listen to this burning desire that rappers, get out of saying in a record, basically I'm going to break it down in simple terms. I just blew that nigga's head off and I feel great about it, and how great am I? And you'll never hear these people talking about how they will go and blow off a white person. It's this hatred aimed at the next person that looks like them. Where does that come from? So stick with me. I'm going to get into this nicely, but I'm here to discuss with you because, hey, newsflash, I am one of them. I'm one of those people who want better for our race. I'm one of those people who, are not asleep. I'm one of those people who kind of be like, man, I do want to see us not be the ones who are pushing murder. I do want to see us not be the ones who are pushing all these things. And Candace is weaponizing that. And if you don't catch it, if you're not intelligent enough to catch it, there's a condescending nature in which she addresses the black community, which really is the mind of white supremacy. It's still the mind of white supremacy, in where you look down on the scars of the black community and say, look, monkey do, a monkey do. And now she's trying to backtrack and be like, I've always loved the black community. Take it from someone, like I said, I'm on your side, guys. I don't want to see us behave in a lot of ways, but when I study the mind of the African, when I study history, when I study everything, when I study, look at this. I'm so much I want to get through here, but I'm just going to give one thing, right? Give me another race of women. Don't try and give me a different situation where we wear a different texture hair to ourselves for 90% of our lives. Give me another race. White women? Indian women? Give me another race where the hair that grows off of your head is not professional. It used to be officially not professional, but we are still struggling to get out of that mind frame. Here we go again. Past trauma. When I study the mind of Africa, I can see it when guys, if you watch this episode, think of the dedication our women have to wigs, to straight hair. You have to look at it from a psychological, where is that rooted? It's not rooted in style or a trend, or where is that rooted? So if I'm seeing these situations take place in these different things, I also have other evidence that I will show you. And there's a black woman. I'm going to play the first few seconds of it. And she speaks and she says, guys, Africans, you treat white people better than you treat Africans in Africa. So in Africa, we are still treating white people better. The colonized mind still, you would think because we're in Africa, white racism is not, this shows the trauma is still going. Watch this clip.
Africans in Africa, you treat white people better than you do Africans, and you need to stop that shit. It is such disgusting behavior. I hate the special treatment white people get in Africa. Like, literally, ass kissers, the lot of you. I remember this one time in Cape Town, I wanted to get a table at a restaurant, and my friend was like, oh, remember to use your white voice so that they don't tell you that the place is booked out. Sorry, I have been to places at the club, literally there's a line of black people, Africans, a white person pops up, they're let into the club. Literally it happens all the time. At restaurants, they're given the first tables. Like, Africans are more kind, more welcoming, more understanding when it comes to them. And it's not just even white people, anyone who's not African, but especially white people. Are they God? I'm so confused. So many of you are traumatized from colonization. Stop it.
Honestly, when you study the African the way I'm studying African, you get to understand. I am that of an African child. I know what it felt like to be African and to watch you. The meaning of what it is to be African, to be defamed. It's attached to unintelligence. It's attached to monkeys, jungles. So I looked at it from that perspective and then traveled and made my way into American dysfunction, Black American dysfunction. And all of it is making a whole lot more sense to me, the self-hatred. You watch us, we have our community where the lighter shade women get put on a higher pedestal. Why? Because it's closer to white. When you see these things happen, go back to every single hip hop video you've ever known. Go back to every single woman we've made a star. She either has to be light skinned or racially ambiguous, and if she's dark, she better be damn good and irresistible. Or else she's not gonna get a look in. But the people who had half the talent as mixed race women or lighter shade women, boom, they have a career overnight. We have to look at this as, like I said, the animals in the and understand there's patterns, there's dysfunction within this. Patterns and dysfunction. My mom always says as a bigger woman, what it felt like growing up in a world where African-sized women more so were demonized, and how that felt so uncomfortable to be Black in those times. How she used to draw her lipstick only halfway through her lips because juju lips, monkey lips was something she had to get away from. This is something so when you think of this trauma, we think just because a lot of it is just under the rug, it didn't psychologically deteriorate our community. So when you look at those things that are more so obvious, I look at hip hop and I can even recall having tension with other Black guys, a tension that's amongst us. And I begin to understand hip hop culture. I begin to understand it as a broken people. So as much as I want excellence, as much as I want degrees and I'm going to say degrees with a question with this, because even that value system where degrees is at the top of the pyramid, and it's also still a very Western and capitalist type idea of success and idea of intelligence. There are a lot of Black people in the rural areas who could teach a lot of us about life, who could teach us about things, you know what I'm saying? So when you add all these things up, you begin to understand the Black community. And that will bring in my next point that I quickly wanted to say today, which I saw this incident that took place in London recently, today actually. It was of this young man who's in the back of a car. Seems as though he got off. I'm not going to play the tape, but I'll have it on the screen as I talk because it's quite gruesome. I'm going to maybe cut out the bits that whatever, but I'll put the link in the description for anybody who wants to go and watch it. And he's basically in a chase. He's getting stabbed down, and he's in the car, and he's getting stabbed, and it's just horrific. And I'm watching the thing with my heart in my mouth, thinking which one of these, jabs are going to puncture his lung. And I'm just sick of this culture. I'm sick of it. I'm sick. Don't take it from. I'm sick of it. But the more I look at that kind of behavior, it makes me think there's something up. Either Black people were born stupid or there's something up. And unless you want to believe the Black man is inherently stupid, inherently dangerous, inherently inferior, you've got to look at him and say, there's got to be a reason behind such behavior. As a hip-hop fanatic, and as I step more in the conscious community, and some will argue that there was a time where hip-hop wasn't like that, I've actually come to understand, and even Candace always says that, look at Black America when we first got out of sort of, slavery, we were doing well. Hello, Candace. Stop thinking Black America is the only Black people in the world. There are Black people in Africa who are suffering trauma that's at the same time, simultaneously, not the same type of trauma, but simultaneously. That's probably why I can have a better scope of trauma in America. I'm seeing African trauma. I know that Africans have a major low self-esteem. I played you the video just there. Within Africa. And all my videos, I explain this in a deeper, and I go into depth in that. So I just see African Americans as a different type of trauma. And if you love your people, it hurts me. It's bittersweet because I like, wow. And back to what I was saying. The results of slavery and everything were only beginning to unfold. When we initially came out of slavery, we thought, right, you're going to hit the ground running. And then they had to deal with a society that, although it told them we no longer hate you, they had to go out and feel that. Same thing happened in Southern Africa, in Zimbabwe. Although you were told and given independence, you then go out and feel that. My mother accounts in her book, you should go and get it. Thank you, Mrs. G. I'll put it up on the screen for you to see. Of when she finally came out of desegregation, how she was terrified to have interactions with white people and facing the rejection and facing these things. So just because every grandma and grandpa or great-grandma and grandpa didn't come out and hit the ground running, some deteriorated. And that's the ghetto kids we have today. Some couldn't keep their head above the water. Some hit the crack pipe. Some couldn't do that. And what kind of pro-Black person are you if you are expecting everybody to react the same? This is trauma. Hello. Do you care? We love trauma. This is trauma. Real trauma. So when I look at that stabbing in the UK, I'm just as frustrated. I'm just as annoyed. What? Can we stop this? And then it's just one big circle, hip-hop music perpetuating, that I can bet you those boys went home, they played their favorite UK artists, I shanked them, and it goes round and round again. Round and round again. He went home proud of himself. Like I always say, I remember the first time I smoked some weed, or I remember the first time I brought a girl to my crib. The next time I listened to my favorite rapper, the words hit different. When you did what he said in the record, and the next time you're chilling with the guys, you got one lit up, and he say, I hit it, and then I smoke, and then I roll me up one. You like, I must be Young Thug, I must be Future, I must be one of them now. You 19, 15 years old. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, and then so those guys, I don't doubt they went home and they played that record like, yeah, I must be Digga D because I don't play that no more. Play them records now, they're feeling like I'm and then we patronize the rappers who are not living what they're talking. Not in a way to say, stop rapping about it, give us something else, but almost to say, prove it. So then you're guilt tripped by your community to go back in it. And we are hailed, oh, he put that fire on somebody today. We see it on the Shade Room. We say, okay, he really rapping what he living. Brilliant. Okay. We'll consider you our king. You really rapping what you living. All right, respect. And the circle just goes round and round and round. And I'm looking at it. I'm kind of like, no, this kind of, like, when is someone going to see the... And I understand this has got to be a form of trauma. It has got to be a form of post-traumatic slave syndrome. So to my people who are liking Candace because she seems to have this, you will feel that somebody who loves the community wants to get to the root of the therapy and the brokenness, not someone who wants to override. It happened, move on. Oh, your therapist telling a young girl, oh, your uncle touched you when you were 7. Forget about it. Oh, your uncle, forget about it. No, but that is why, I said this in one of my podcasts before, that is why we're seeing this maybe overly sexual behavior. That is somewhere along the line, sex was disrupted for this woman. And that is what we're seeing today. Only an insensitive person wants to talk to them like, get up and... The harsh truth is there's some people that trauma is already sunk so deep into their system, we don't know if we can save them. But I'm very, very... That's what I'm trying to tell any of my black people or my black conservatives who want to, please don't look at a person who absolutely has not this empathy. And I approach everything, and I've looked at it from you're looking at a woman, and please, black women are going to hate me. Black pro Candace fans are going to hate me. You're looking at a woman who has flat pressed her hair like consistently in her career. So when I'm looking at her, I'm seeing a woman who's not even embraced her African coily hair. I'm seeing the remnants of colonization in her. Never mind what comes out of her mouth. No, never mind what comes out of her mouth. Another insult that she always makes. Oh, black Americans can't even pass a literacy test. Black American lads. Hello. And in the next point, she was recently saying how, oh, the educational system needs to be abolished because it's no good. I have actually been saying on this page that, guys, Africans were accomplishing great things in Africa. Great things before that trauma came by. We had an amazing advanced civilization. The concept of everything European and everything Western is education. And another thing, a point is to make that a white man will never go to an African country, not speak the African language, and be considered uneducated. And be looked at like, you're not educated. He'd be like, oh, he's just a guy who doesn't speak the language. And if he's able to make his way around it, maybe using Google Translate here and there, he would actually get through his life and never face any true insults. And maybe barriers, but never a sense of being frowned upon. Like, oh, are you intelligent? Are you a smart person? But why has that been attached to England? So I don't have time for Candace Owens who's not getting to the bottom of that. That's where I'm at. I'm abolishing the real Western supremacy type mentality that the English language is the best way to go. Western education is the best way to go. Western way of lifestyle living is the way to go. That I'm trying to look and think to myself and reappreciate the people in the rural areas in Africa and think that, hello, you are in a bubble where what is right, white is right, and what's African is underdeveloped. Now we're looking at a world that is, people are killing themselves off phones. Maybe they were the geniuses after all. Listen, guys, I'm talking to my people here today to say, can we please not be falling for the trick of Candace Owens, who wants to look like this very condescending, patronizing way of Black America, they're going to come, don't worry, I'm going to save you. I'll be the white body in a white voice in a black body and save you. This is what all my white friends are saying about you, but don't worry, I'm here to give you the lowdown. That is not a woman who has empathy for the hoods, the ghettos, the community. And I can sense someone who generally has a thing of like, this is a bit off. 15-year-olds are dying. Where does this culture come from? 15-year-olds are blowing each other's brains out in the ghettos and then rapping about it and then singing about it. Where is this? What is this coming from? What is this coming from? What is this level of self-destruction? And why is it exclusive? I'm sorry, I have to say this. Of course, we have other cultures who do murder, cartels, Mexicans. I understand that. But I want to say black culture, it's its own thing. And, I think I almost said this, but I cut myself short. And I'll end on this. It is a bittersweet because in one hand, I see the black community made lemonade out of lemons by taking the ghettos, taking the trauma, and then becoming the most influential culture, hip hop culture. We use their slang. Their records are always everywhere on the internet. Hip hop culture is, I think, the triumphant, the most influential culture globally. Hip hop, everything. So we took the pain, we made lemonade, but then it's not really what we want. It's not really what we want because it's self-destructive. But with that being said, they could only give you what they're living. Candace, you don't know what that looks like. If your mom was in the kitchen cooking crack. I remember when in America, I had one friend, he was telling me like, my mom and dad used to be cooking crack in the kitchen. And I'm like, wow. I used to go in the room, my mom was praying like, you would come in the kitchen and mom and dad's on crack. We can't have the same outcome. Some will say, my mom was, but look how he came out. Shut up. Not everyone's going to react the same. Shut up. Like, wow, what hope did you have? Then you went ahead and you became a rapper? Or you know what I'm trying to say? Or you started stealing and robbing? My mom gave me the whip for lying at my house. Lying, even calling my brother a name. These are the morals in which I was founded upon that I will never truly stray from. You had mothers that was cussing you out. You had mothers that had all sorts of things that were coming out of the house. In one way, they've done quite well. So there's a bittersweetness, and I think we need people who are going to invest in shifting the culture, demanding more responsibility from our hip-hop stars and so forth, but from a perspective in which you are understanding the hurt of the community. Don't condescend the community. Don't try and wish away history like it has no effect. Emmett Till would have been 83, 84 right now. Emmett Till would, if he survived that, let's say he survived it with his face burnt off like that, how do you think his kids would have been raised? If he was able to have kids and his face was burnt off, imagine he survived that miraculously, but his face was the same way. He had kids. How old would the kids be right now? What way do you think they would have grew up? Traumatized or not traumatized? I know they had an option, but we have to look at America that way. It was a flip of a coin. Flip of a coin. Literally, flip of a coin. Right. That's all I got to say today. Rest in peace to Massey, Sonya Massey. That brother, so disappointed in the UK with what's going on. And let's work. Let's put our heart into this community. Let's not condescend our own community. Let us put our heart into our own community. Let us restore the black beauty. Yes, let us restore black beauty. Let us restore black love. Let us restore the black home. Let us restore our self-esteem. Let us restore all the things. What you're seeing a lot of the time is internal things within the black community being mirrored in certain behaviors. Some Africans go about worshiping white people. Oh, you go to Africa right now, they will literally, white person walks there, you will lick the ground. He will lick the ground the white person just walked on. Go to Africa, you'll find out. How? He's not in America. This is what you call generational trauma. Thank you so much for watching. And I'm on a mission for you.